Hello, everybody. My name is Iliyan, and I'm working in the office in Madrid, SAMSA. So today I will talk about. Can we see something here? Okay. And today I will talk about single-page applications done right, because our goal was not to do them wrong, but to do them right. So this will be available in Liferay 7.0. And I would like to start talk about creativity. So the first question is, what is creativity? Do we always start creating new things from scratch, or we combine existing ones? Very often it's the second one. I can give you an example. Many years ago, actually, there was a guy who combined the flexibility of a coin punch machine with the power of the point press machine, and he invented something which is called the printing press. It changed entirely the human history. This guy was Gutenberg. So in many cases, the inventions are a combination of existing elements. This is very well-known truth, also admitted by scientists like Isaac Newton, who says, if I have seen a little further, it's by standing on the shoulders of giants. Sometimes we try to exaggerate this, and if I ask you a simple question like, what is the difference between a woman and a gun, what would you answer me? Right? Some people would tell me that there is no difference, or some people can tell me that they are both creatures of God, but this is kind of metaphorical thinking, and answer is actually pretty simple. A woman is a person, and gun is an object. So very often we go in this abstract thinking, like metaphorical, like child do, and there is another one which is more applicable to adults. It's more concrete thinking, but both of them help us to solve problems. And creativity is, its purpose is to solve problems. There is a very good example a few decades ago when people started to build skyscrapers. They put elevators, right? But they were very slow. So people were feeling that they lose their time. And from engineering point, the obvious answer how to fix this issue is to build faster elevators, right? But it was not possible. The technology was not so far away. So what they do? They put mirrors inside the elevators. So people started to feel more productive. They did not feel that they are losing their time, those 1 or 2 minutes until to get to the roof. I would love if you remember those two switches between concrete and abstract thinking. If we learn to adjust them properly, then we will be able to solve issues much easier. Switching to performance, what exactly is performance? Performance means many different things to the different people, right? And what is real time? In general, it's acceptable that a movement, something is being, if we have at least 24 frames per second, or about 41 milliseconds per frame, the movement is acceptable in real time. So here is an example. We have a ball which is moving with 24 frames per second, and it's good, it works relatively well. But if we start move another one with 60 frames per second, we feel somehow that this movement is more smooth, right? I guess more of you have seen this table. It is very well known. From 0 to 100 milliseconds, user perceives some action like it happened immediately, instantly. Imagine if this is your website. If everything you do fits in this 100 milliseconds time window, it will be acceptable as instant. From 100 to 300 milliseconds, there is some perceived delay. About 300 milliseconds to 1 second, the user just gets out of the focus, it mentally switches to another task. And if your site loads for, let's say, tries to load for more than 10 seconds, you say, no, no, I will just go out. This study has been, I think, has started about 60s, and those milliseconds are because usually a blink of a human eye is between 100 or 400 milliseconds. From engineering point, Hacker News technically is fast because we have about 10 kilobytes of HTML, very few kilobytes of CSS. I would be really proud with those numbers if my point of view was only as an engineer. We have speed index, like first renderer is less than 500 milliseconds, so it's technically very fast. But there is a problem that we actually can't do anything with this page because we need, as soon as it's being loaded, we have to zoom, we have to scroll this page. And actually, the perceived performance is that the page is slow. I cannot finish my work for less than 5 seconds. So not that page loading time is what is important. What is important is for how much time the user finishes his work. The task completion is what really matters. As engineers, it's really easy for us to think about GPU acceleration, multi-core optimization, like RAM usage. If we switch to software for parsers and lexers, how fast we build CSS on, how fast we put the content to the DOM. But all those has some energy constraints, right? This is it. And by people, this guy, Ilya Grigorik from Google, he says that performance is not just milliseconds and bytes. It is also how those milliseconds and bytes are being translated to the way the user perceives the application, right? So armed with those knowledge, let's move to a single page application topic. And let's see what makes a single application good or bad. What is the difference? The web initially was not invented to handle huge applications like Gmail, like Google Maps, whatever. Its purpose was to link scientific documents among universities. This is the first browser, Mosaic. Mark Anderson and one more guy who is now working for Opera, they built the first browser. And by definition, what is single page application? This is a website that fits on a single web page with the goal of providing a more fluid user experience, period. It's not related to where the page will be rendered, on the server or on the client. Everything what we want is to not refresh the whole page and to achieve good user experience. Single page applications were pioneered by companies like Google and Yahoo in Gmail. I am sure everybody knows it very well. Google Maps, many others. I can give you here hundreds of examples because those days they are widely employed by other companies like Twitter, like Facebook. And how to build a single page application is not something you learn at school. We learned that down the road. The first application, single page application I did was in 2007. And if I have to be honest, it was really crappy. Why it was really crappy? Because that was a combination of lack of experience, lack of knowledge, plus lack of technology. A very simple way to create a single page application in quads is just to build your site in an iframe, right? But this is naive. I even don't want to talk about this. Then you switch to Ajax, right? The next things which may come on your mind is let's do it via Ajax. With Ajax, you create a XML HTTP request. And as soon the content is coming from server, you just apply to the page. Sounds very good. An example could be a site like this, which have some links on the left and content on the right. And what do? We intercept clicking on the links, then we send a request to the server, some fancy loader appears right here, and as soon as the content is coming from the server, we put it to the page. But this actually doesn't work very well because the URL doesn't change. This URL here on the address bar, it doesn't change. The content is being loading, but the URL is the same. So if I copy this URL and paste, I won't receive the same context, the same status. I will receive something completely different. People started to look for some ways. Again, this was 2007, 8 maybe. They started to look for different ways to change the address bar, and a possible way is to put some arguments after the hash band, after the pound sign, right here. So even companies like Twitter, they used to use this approach. They were putting some arguments after the hash band because Google Robot used to require this one to index properly your page. But this was not actually working very well. Why? Because those parameters, when you paste to the address bar and hit enter, they don't go to the server. Okay, enough about the issues. What is the good way to create a single page application? What kind of features it should have in order to be perceived as good? I would say in the first place it should have properly CEO and bookmarkability, which means that sharing of a bookmark or sharing of a link or bookmarking the page should always display the same content. This one is crucial. Without this, your page will look just weird. It will look old-fashioned, the way like we did it 6 or 7 years ago. On the second place, we should have a properly history navigation. What is history navigation? Now in the browsers we have a API which we did not have, and by using history API you can manipulate the browser history, right? You know that very well as developers. So we can achieve the same what browser does with clicking back and forward buttons. In HTML4 we did not have anything like this, but now we have at least two functions: push state, which adds an entry in browser history, or we have replace state, which just changes the existing state without creating another entry in browser history. An example, let's imagine we have 3 pages, we push state, and let's say we want to go to the page 2, the state changes, so as soon as I click, I can replace the state if the user changes something to the page. But then if the user presses back button, or if I call history back, an event called pop state will be fired, and I will be able to navigate to the page I used to be. There are companies who do that very well. For example, GitHub. If you click on a file right here, right, the content change, you click back or forward, and we feel, despite the page does not change, we feel that the action was properly executed. The third very important feature of a good single page application is the state retention, which means that scrolling, reloading, or navigating through the history of the page should get the user back to the place he was when he pressed a link, for example. Not all companies do that well. For example, in Google+, imagine that we have a page, we scroll to the middle of Google+, and we found a very cool link related to web components, and we click on this link. The page changes, but as soon as I click back, something does not feel very good because I'm still on top of the page. I was not moved back to the middle of the page where I have to be. The fourth very important feature of a good single-page application is the cacheable screens. This is optional, but it should be present. Once you load a certain content from the page, or what we call surface, this content is being cached in memory. So then it's retrieved later without making another request to the server. This is crucial for performance. GitHub is doing that very well. You click on a link, then we browse a folder, let's say see source folder, then we click on a file, and then we click fast twice back. You see the content appeared immediately. There was no additional request. The content was just thrown back to the DOM. As we said, we sent requests to the server, so something is changing. The question is, how do we notify the user about that? Should we, for example, what kind of UI feedback we provide to the user? In the previous example, I told you that initially we did that just by removing the existing content, showing a fancy loading toolbar, and that's it. But it doesn't feel very well. So when some context is requested, we have somehow to indicate the user that some action is being performed. And this is a good way to provide some notification to the user. For example, we can show here a loading message, so the user is being notified, but we don't destroy the existing content until the new one is coming. The next feature of good single-page applications is the hybrid rendering. So there are generally two ways to achieve rendering on the page, on the server or on the client, right? So if you have hybrid rendering, this allows you to disable this functionality, although your application will still work. With client-side only rendering, the whole content is being rendering into the browser, and as soon as the content goes, we just drop it into this empty space. But this doesn't provide good user experience. Medium.com is an example of hybrid rendering. If I click on the refresh button right here, the page, the content will appear immediately. I can see the header, the title, then the JavaScript will come. I will progressively enhance the application, but it feels much better than if we render the content on the server only. Other companies like Facebook, they don't do exactly that. And check the difference. If we refresh a Facebook page, a header appears, then something else appears from the right, from the left. We have blank elements on both sides, depending what comes first. So it just doesn't feel, it just doesn't feel very well. The feature of a good single-page applications is that we should properly manage the page resources. And one crucial point here is that we should evaluate scripts and style sheets from dynamically loaded resources. You know that if we just drop a content to the DOM, the script element won't be executed. So we have to properly execute them to provide the same user experience. Apart from that, we have to properly manage the resources since we load multiple times content from the server, and we may store this into the memory. We shouldn't cause browser to get out of the memory. We should build our single-page application in this way that this memory could be freed after some time. Another feature of a good single-page application is that we should properly detect when something is going wrong. Yes, we send requests to the server, AJAX requests to the server, but something may get wrong. The server may be down, the network may be down, so we have to detect that and properly get out of the situation. In general, mimic the native browser behavior is what makes your single application done right. When we had to implement this in Liferay, we thought about weeks in front of the whiteboard with Eduardo from Brazil, and we thought what to do, how to provide all those features to Liferay. And what we ended up finally was to invent a framework called Synergies, which is actually a blazing fast single-page application engine. It's available right now in synergies.com, and we applied that to Liferay. So this is Liferay, but what we wanted to achieve is to make the whole Liferay to work as a single-page application. That you, like developers, to do nothing on very few in order to achieve this new experience. We wanted to apply this to all the portlets. Everybody, regardless those are new portlets or old portlets, everybody to gain the benefits of that. This is the Liferay, how it looks, you know it very well. We accepted that we will have a few pages of the page, parts of the page, which will be updated. We call them surfaces. And the page will be called screen, right? The page in quotes will be called screen. In some other engines, single page application engine, this is not called screen, it's called entry point, but the idea is pretty the same. So here is the life cycle. We intercept the links, we do an AJAX request, we provide some UI feedback to the users. As soon as content goes back, we flip the screen, we update the new content, then we update the URL on the page, and basically that's the whole philosophy. We handle render URLs, few other URLs. We cannot handle currently everything, but we are working on this. With code, if you use Senna in Portal or in your own application, that's to create a new instance of the application, to register your surfaces, the parts of the page which will be updated, to add some roads, and to navigate via the API, or just wait the user to click on a link. Senna supports very cool data attributes. You may register your surfaces via data attribute, HTML5 data attribute, data Senna surface. I want header, body, and footer to be surface of my application. So right now you can download Liferay Milestone 2 and check that, and check how does it work, check what we have done. Here I have a demo which is running Liferay Portal before ASPA with relatively slow connection, 512 megabytes. I clicked on a link and we start to count. With this slow internet connection, something starts to happen. Some content appears, and in about 24 seconds, the action will be performed. We decreased the connection twice and applied SPA. So check out what is the difference. We click on the link, and boom, it's done. So moving on, what that means for you as developers or as managers for whatever. This means less bandwidth on the network. An example for some cases, like in this case, we previously had 1.3 megabytes transferred, and with SPA we have 22.9 kilobytes transferred. Huge difference, because as you know, the monthly broadband subscription is not for free, and the costs may be relatively high. For mobile, this is also extremely useful and important in some continent like Africa, in the Middle East. Actually the mobile traffic is overdose of the desktop. And it also is important for the user, since the productivity of the user has been improved. It's much faster to accomplish the work and move on to your next task. All this on the price of about 8 kilobytes of JavaScript, and there are no any dependencies. We don't depend anymore on in Synergies of YUI or Alloy UI. We have the same in Alloy UI, which is in a lawyer, you can use it, but you can use Synergies right now on this beautiful website, synergies.com. Download, check it, it's really worth. And don't forget, when you have to solve an issues, to switch between concrete and abstract thinking. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Iliyan.
Oh,
Remembered your name.
now you remember my name, right?
Yeah. There's
Okay.
another company who's doing also surfaces, but do you know what? They have less boxes on their logo. So any questions? Hands up. I said hands up. Yes.
If you don't have, you may pick me after the talk if you want.
Yeah, we need questions. We have time.
Hello.
Hello.
What do you think it will happen with AUI tags in Liferay 7?
AUI tags?
Yes.
You mean the tag clip?
Yes.
Nothing. If you download, it works. If you download but you mean because of the SPA or in general, what will happen with them?
In general.
This is a question not related strictly to SPA, right?
No.
Okay, so don't be afraid. Nothing scary will happen with them. They will still exist there. The SPA will not destroy them. They will still exist. Maybe we will change many things under the hood, but keep to a low UI when you don't be afraid. In Liferay 7, we won't destroy anything, or at least that's what we will try. So don't be afraid. Nothing scary will happen with them. And SPA actually will help to achieve, to make Liferay 7 much better. Okay? Thank you.
There was a next. Yes.
So if I download the milestone 2 and start testing, what do I have to do that my custom portlets take that benefit you have shown us?
Absolutely anything. It is enabled by default for all portlets, except if you strictly, it may be disabled per portlets, but by default, it's enabled for all portlets. If you have a portlet which actually creates its own AJAX requests in order to retrieve some data, it will be better. You may keep this one and disable SPA for your portlet. But I strongly advise you to try to do the opposite. To remove your custom code, which sends AJAX requests, gets data and populates it to the portlet. If you remember the document library in 6.2, initially we built it exactly in this way. Web content was built in this way too. We sent custom AJAX requests to the server. We handled updating the URL by ourselves manually. So do you know what we did as soon as we applied SPA to the master? We removed about 2,000 or 3,000 lines of code. So that's what you have to do. Remove your code. This will be much better for your custom portlet.
Okay, thank you.
You are very welcome.
I think we could have one more.
Okay.
Okay, so would you recommend to remove all render requests and so on and just go with resource requests then?
No, I
When you-
recommend keep your render, do your portlets as you have been done for years. Let them to refresh the page initially. Then, as soon as you apply SPA, that will not happen. The SPA will intercept the link and the page will stop refreshing. The content will be retrieved from the server and SPA, the engine, will put the content to the DOM. So keep using that. I don't recommend to remove the render URLs. Keep them. Just leave for now the page to be refreshed. As soon as you get SPA, it will start working in magically for you.
Thank you, Iliyan.
You guys, it won't be so easy to get rid of me because I have another talk on 12:40 about the new editor with this guy over there, Chema. He will do a great demo. But for now, thank you very much one more time.
Yeah.